Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the fifth deep dive of the Open Web Foundry. Today, we have a very special speaker, Al Morris, the founder of Koi Network. Al has spoken a few times at the Open Web Foundry events discussing a range of topics from atomic NFTs, the Finney Wallet, DID standards, and so on. Today, he's going to be telling us about a lot of different developments that have been going on at Koi, including Koi tasks, how you can earn hosting with attention, K2, and then a bunch of other stuff that's going on and that you can leverage for what you're building now. And if you guys have any questions, as always, there's a mingle session afterwards where you can talk with Al and learn how you can use this for your project. So with that being said, thanks for being here, Al, and you can go ahead and take it away.
Lovely. Thanks, Jesse. Always excited to be back in front of the Arweave crowd. Main thing that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today is just how you can get into using Koi. We've been building out a lot of the toolkits for the last about 2 years now, and we finally, I think, have the full stack ready to deploy. So in about a week, we're going to release an entirely new revamped version of Koi, and this comes with a whole bunch of new features. The main aspect of Koi, which many of you may be familiar with, is the use of attention tracking to actually fund the development of your project. And so the way this works is that you can add our tracking script to your content or to your NFTs or whatever it is that you're producing that's on Arweave. And then once you have the attention tracking in place, you'll be able to mine Koi tokens, which can then be used to pay our nodes to host your content or to run microservices or a variety of other things. And so the way that we came across this problem, I spent about 4 years in Chicago running a company called We Teach Blockchain, where we were teaching people how to use cryptocurrency stacks and also how to build dApps. And we ran into a lot of major issues. One of the big things, obviously, is that you have to buy tokens in order to deploy things, which slows down the development cycle a lot. So we wanted to get rid of that, which is why we give them away based on attention. The second part, of course, though, is that once you actually are getting into the process of developing these things, often you have to learn a bunch of other programming languages. So we wanted to make it really simple, which is why Koi is almost entirely built on JavaScript. So you can get into it very easily with the Web 2 skill set. And then finally, we also noticed that there's not a lot of templates in the crypto world. So we have put together a whole bunch of really nice template libraries for you, everything from UI components right up to microservices and backend tools. And we're going to continue to put out a bunch more of those templates this summer. So you should be able to do everything from a crowdfunding portal to an NFT drop to a social media website, all with the templates that we're providing. You can think of it kind of like a WordPress sort of system, but for Web3. And so our vision of this is that you can basically run through the Koi stack all the way from the beginning of your deployment cycle right through to the point where you're absolutely out there and you've got a full stack horizontally scalable service. And so the way that this actually works is that the attention rewards at the base here are really going to drive the entire system. So what we do is we give away these tokens so that we can get people into the fold. And so in the last 6 to 8 months, we've basically gotten about 24,000 people that have signed up to run these nodes for us. And we recently got IBM and AWS to give us a bit of hosting capacity there. And so if you contribute a personal device like a phone or a computer, you can eventually move up the stack and you can get a real cloud-hosted node from IBM to even provide REST API type services, a little bit higher bandwidth locations. So the attention rewards seem to bring in this kind of larger community, which leads to nodes, which leads to this kind of increased utility of the network. And that's sort of our tokenomics flywheel, which is why we can give away these tokens in the first place without them having no value. And so in the last year, we've gotten about 33 million views. This has led to about 297,000 Koi tokens being awarded. The number goes up each day, so it might be a little out of date. And then that has led to, like I said, about 24,000 node operators that have signed up. And so if you have tasks that you need to run, like if you're doing some kind of a microservice or you have like a SmartWeave contract that you need to compute the latest data, that kind of thing, you can pay Koi nodes to do that. It's very inexpensive, and all of the tokens that you would pay them come from the attention rewards. So if you have a social media website or something that's going to be getting a lot of traffic, it's a really good way to easily horizontally scale your system because it's basically free. As you get more attention, you get more access to nodes, you get more tokens, and this flywheel kind of repeats itself. So if you wanted to build a decentralized app before Koi, it would basically look like this. You've got these 4 parts of the stack. You've got your identity system, your application layer, settlement, which is kind of payment processing, and then your storage layer. And so what we've tried to do is to bring these all together into one kind of homogeneous system and root it all right back to Arweave. Because, as we know, Arweave is the superior storage solution for long-term storage. And so we've really tried to tie everything back into that system. And actually, it's made things quite a bit more efficient, which I'll get into in a couple of minutes when we discuss the stack. So this is the Koi stack. The way that this works essentially is we have at the core of everything the identity layer, which is an SDK that we developed, which includes not only the Arweave wallet library, but also Ethereum wallets, Solana wallets, now Near wallets, and we're working on adding more each week. This identity layer is kind of tied into every other part of the system, which means that if you run a coin node or if you're using our UI templates, you can get them to talk to lots of other layers of the stack. And you can get them to talk to lots of other blockchains as well, which is really important. The middle component here is what Jesse mentioned, which is called the Koi tasks. And these tasks run on kind of a standardized node infrastructure. So we developed something called Gradual Consensus, which is a way of having essentially a task script that you write, which is all written in JavaScript, so you can use NPM libraries and all kinds of other stuff. And the task script runs with an audit script next to it, which kind of decides how it will be paid out. And so you create a bounty pool, and then you get nodes to run the task for you. And if they run the task properly, they get to have some of the bounty each cycle. And again, if you have something that's more social media oriented or something that's going to be getting a lot of attention, your attention rewards can go right into that bounty pool, so it can refill the microservices pool so that you don't actually have to pay for hosting. And you can ideally mine enough tokens just from attention to pay for all of the node costs that you're going to be running. The task nodes, however, we started out writing those mostly based on SmartWeave, and we kind of ran into some limitations, mostly with, write times to Arweave can be kind of unpredictable sometimes if the network gets bogged down. And so what we wanted to do is to separate the payment and bounty system, especially with audits, because you don't want, if you're trying to slash a node stake, you want to make sure that that's going to get slashed right away. And so we built out a system which is actually a fork of Solana called K2. And I'll get into that in a bit more detail in a couple minutes, but essentially the point of this K2 layer is that you can now essentially deploy a Koi task contract, which is a standardized contract, so you don't have to write any Rust code or anything like that. But this task contract runs on our K2 layer and is settled almost instantly. So we have 5 or 6 of these nodes up now. The network's been running for about 3 months, and we now have a couple of kind of major providers like Blockdaemon and Nft that are going to be running some of these nodes for us, and a bunch of our early investors are also going to be running them. So you get this full-fledged, very high-speed transaction layer, which means you can also put your tokens into it. So if anybody's been having trouble getting their PSTs listed on exchanges, you can wrap your PSTs into this K2 layer, which makes them just like a Solana contract. It makes it really easy to get them listed on Huobi and those kinds of guys. So we're actually working with the Huobi team now on making those compatible. And we also have a couple of kind of ongoing partnerships with people like Coinbase, who are also hopefully going to make it easier and easier to list these tokens. Because most of these companies have already set up all the infrastructure to connect with Solana. And so connecting to our K2 network is extremely easy for them. And then finally, of course, the storage layer is kind of underneath of all of this. And so if you have a task contract, a lot of the time, the way that your task will work is that you have some data that needs to get written to Arweave. And once it's written to Arweave, then the task nodes can look at it, decide if it's been done properly, and they can decide who gets paid that bounty. And so there's sort of this flow of information going into Arweave, being checked, having the rewards paid out on the K2 layer. And in the core of all of this, you've got this kind of user identity structure. And so the users that view your content on your site, or that are actually participating as users of your system, can also then go and run a node and help you actually host your product. So it kind of creates this flywheel where you can build up a community of people who are going to support what you're doing. So if we continue into here, I'll go into the Finney Wallet a little bit more in detail. So the Finney Wallet is a browser wallet that we created. We're rolling out new versions of this regularly, so please be patient. It's very much a beta product. This is somewhat like Arconnect, though we've kind of taken a slightly different tack on it. Mostly what we focused on is things like being able to drag and drop files and make NFTs, being able to be very cross-chain compatible, so you have integrated bridging, so you can move your assets on and off of the Ethereum blockchain, and we're working on adding Polygon and Near at the moment as well. And then I think shortly we will have Solana support as well as K2 support. And so what that means, though, is that if you drag and drop a file into Finney Wallet, it's going to make an atomic NFT on Arweave, which then you can bridge over to Ethereum, Solana, or K2, and you can access marketplace functionalities that way. So hopefully broadens the amount of people that can then buy these atomic NFTs that are listed on Arweave. And hopefully then, we create a little bit of price pressure and we can see the Arweave ecosystem get rewarded for the work that they've been doing. One other thing that I'll mention is we have also now been developing a mobile Finney Wallet, which is a progressive web app, and we'll be publishing this as a template. So one of the neat advantages of progressive web app, especially for mobile, is that you don't have to go to an app store to download it. And so you can kind of bypass a lot of the restrictions that occur with Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And specifically, you don't have to pay them every time that you take a payment. And so that means that for the most part, you're going to be saving a lot of money and you're going to speed up your development timeline because you're not going to have to wait for App Store approval. You can just roll out a new version of your software whenever you want to. Progressive web apps also automatically updated. So whenever you deploy one of these things, it's going to be instantly updated across all the devices that are connected to it. And we've integrated the same wallet SDK as well as attention tracking. And we have IPFS and Arweave compatibility on those, so you can upload files right from your mobile phone, which can be very effective for a lot of things. And then finally, if you are using the mobile app, it's built completely in React. So it's really, really easy to put together one of these progressive web app templates, and you can create a mobile app from the Finney Wallet template and start developing a mobile tool, which can be lots of fun. And sorry, I'm just going to have a sip of water. So continuing on through the stack, that's the Finney Wallet and the Wallet SDK. And then on top of that, of course, there's the UI templates. So the KoiX UI library is available right now. You can go to our docs portal and you can type in npx create koi dApp, and it will actually generate a new React template that comes prepped with all of your Arweave functionality with the Finney Wallet SDK, as well as attention tracking built into it. We have a couple templates on there right now. One of them is the kind of social media type template. It gives you a leaderboard style app that's full of atomic NFTs. And it comes along with the ability to create a new atomic NFT with content. So if you wanted to click and drag a piece of content onto an app, you can do that right out of the template. And that way somebody can kind of have a Facebook or Twitter style functionality. These also, like I mentioned, have attention tracking built into them. So it saves you a lot of the bootstrapping phase, and you can start mining attention very quickly. We have two other templates. One is an atomic NFT drop page. So if you wanted to have like a, some sort of like a profile picture collection, something like that, that's all built on Arweave. You can create one of those very, very quickly. We've got a bunch of those that we've put out. So Cryptofish is one of them. Atomic Zombies is another one. There's a few other ones like that that are now available. And there's also a crowdfunding portal, which is going to be kind of a fun one for people that are just getting their project started. And so this allows you to receive payments in Ethereum, Arweave, Solana, and a few other sort of EVM chains. And I think we're going to be adding near support for that as well. So you can start fundraising for whatever you're doing without necessarily having to go and make your own website. So it's a kind of a Kickstarter like kind of template. It makes it really easy to get started. And again, these are all written completely in JavaScript. So you can start with React only, and you don't really have to know any Web3 functionality. We've mostly tried to make the Web3 stuff part of the template so that you can just jump right in and start writing. So I mentioned the nodes before. Once you have a UI, of course, the next thing you need is some sort of a backend. In traditional web development, a backend would be hosted on an AWS cloud or Lambda functions or Heroku or something like that. In this case, what we wanted to provide is a REST API that you can scale up horizontally that's going to be backed by a completely decentralized network of nodes. And so in this case, the way that the task nodes work is that you basically write this JavaScript executable, and you can define REST endpoints inside of it. You get a Redis cache, a file store, and you get a number of kind of built-in tools so that you can have wallet functionality. Because what you need if you've got a validator that you want, say you're doing some kind of bridging or something like that, each task node is going to have an identity, just like the Finney wallet, that has all 5 of those wallets in it. And so you can have a task node go and operate on multiple different blockchains as a part of your task, and it's going to come all built into it. We've got a bunch of different standards for this that we've developed, and we'll be releasing the actual full docs on this probably next week, hopefully. And again, this is all rooted right into the K2 layer. And so the K2 layer is this kind of Solana fork that we created. We saw a couple of major problems with how Solana operates. And so one of them is that the leader node in the Solana architecture can be DDoSed. It can have like a whole bunch of unsigned transactions bombarding it, and that causes Solana to periodically go down. So we've counteracted that by having the task nodes act as an intermediary to actually talk to this K2 layer. And so the leader node is not actually publicly visible. It's only visible to the nodes that have enough reputation, which kind of protects it from this sort of DDoS attack. And then the second thing that we have really been implementing lately, hugely thanks to Arweave, is that the general Solana nodes require like up to 5 to 10 terabytes of storage. And what we've been able to do, thanks to Arweave, is to be archiving all of our ledger right onto Arweave. And so the nodes only have to hold the latest state, and that can actually reduce the downtime or the various bandwidth requirements associated with it. So this K2 layer, we think, actually might be even more performant than Solana once we get things rolling. We're doing some kind of rate limit testing this week, but we think we can do up to about 100 billion proofs of real traffic per day, which is like a full web scale deployment, really. So we think we can hit like Facebook, Twitter kind of tier of viewership without the network going down. And so the other thing I would say with this is that we have implemented as a part of the core node a bunch of this task functionality. And so the tasks that I just mentioned in the previous step with these task nodes, you only have to write that JavaScript component, and then you can use a CLI tool to actually register your task into K2, which is going to save you a lot of time. And it also means that any tokens that you issue as a part of your task can also be running as a Solana token. And it makes it really easy to integrate them with any of the existing exchanges out there that already support Solana tokens. So it can make getting listed on an exchange quite a bit easier. And I guess the final thing here is this K2 layer, for anybody who's planning to build on it, is really not designed to have too much storage inside of it. And so we've actually increased the rent rate inside of the K2 layer. And the reason we did that is because we want you to be storing your files on Arweave. And that's what the tasks are for, right? So you get your task node to actually accept any file uploads. The task node can then write them into Arweave for you, which is going to save you a lot of time. And then all what you do with K2 is you just issue your payments. And so it saves you a lot of gas costs, and it also means that generally speaking, things are going to be a lot more efficient on K2, and we don't get bogged down with too many file uploads, as has happened with some of the NFT creators on the Solana side. So there's a bunch of that different stuff. We also have some docs coming out for this in the next week or so as we're kind of releasing this new revamp of the system, but stay tuned for that. Finally, of course, the universal content side of things is really this atomic NFT standard that we've been developing on the Arweave side. And so this is a way of actually tagging all of your content as you upload it to Arweave. It's available at atomicnft.com. It's a standard that was actually, I think, originally developed by some of the guys at Kive and Verto, but we've been trying to build it out and try to make it sort of a standard for how we upload content. And there's a few reasons we do this. The first thing, of course, is that if you upload something to decentralized storage, and then you have an Ethereum NFT that's pointed back at that Arweave link, somebody else can make another NFT on, say, Polygon and point it at the same Arweave link, and it'll look like the real thing. And so we really wanted to avoid that. And so the way that an atomic NFT works is that when you upload it to Arweave, you're going to tag it during the upload process in the Arweave metadata. And this means that the asset that lives on Arweave can only be owned by one person, and you can't actually duplicate it across different blockchains. So we have a whole bunch of nice kind of content pipelines for this. We have a bunch of bridging standards as well, so that you can lock and unlock it. And we're working with some of the people at the Arweave team to start popularizing those a little bit as well. But yeah, if anybody has questions about the universal content side of things, please reach out after this and we can have a little bit of discussion. And again, I guess the main reason that we've sort of tried to take on this content role within the Arweave ecosystem is that this is how the attention tracking really works, right? It's all about owning a piece of content in this permanent storage system. And then once you have that piece of content that you own, then you can earn attention on it forever. And so if it goes into Arweave and it's there for 250 years or potentially in perpetuity, you're going to earn Koi tokens every single time that somebody looks at it forever. And that's a really huge advantage if you think about it, because it means that even if you're not earning a lot in the short term, the longer that your system is alive, the more you can earn and the more it's going to offset your hosting costs. And so I guess finally, the kind of vision for this system, actually, I think I've got two of these slides. So I'm going to just jump ahead a little tiny bit. Yeah, here we go. So this is sort of how this has gone so far. We have 150,000 roughly daily views coming through on the system. And that's led to this kind of like explosion of these Finney Wallet users, as well as a ton of these atomic NFTs being created. And in addition to that, it's also resulted in that kind of growth of these node operators. And so if you were to bring a system onto Koi, you can also then get lots of your users to become node operators and get them to actually start hosting your content for you. We're also working on some ways to use non-Koi incentives. So you should eventually be able to have your own token that you use for your bounty pool to pay your microservices nodes. That's a little bit far out at the moment, just because we want to make sure that we've got it tested properly first, but lots more coming on that front to make it even easier for you. And I guess I can probably leave off on that. So we've kind of gone through most of the key points of Koi at this point. And if anybody has any questions, we can have a little discussion now.
Perfect. Thank you, Al. Yeah, it's amazing how much has changed since the last time you presented here. Very exciting, and I'm happy things are moving fast over at Koi. I think a lot of projects here can benefit from what your team has built. So with that being said, let's move down to the Mingle area and answer any questions you guys might have.
For sure. Oh, I see one here as well, just before we jump off. It says, Koi XUI templates, is there docs or templates for the frameworks other than React, like Svelte? Nothing for Svelte yet, but I will quickly show you guys where the docs are here. So if you go to docs.koi.network, you're going to get the kind of full spectrum of everything here. And then there's the template library section right here. Again, all of this is still in beta. So if you have questions or if things don't work out, you can go to koi.me/support. And we have a lovely support team that will be able to help you get started with these. I'll drop that one in the chat as well. But yeah, let's hop off and we can go to mingling. Thanks, guys.
It looks like there's one more question, actually, if you want to.
Oh, Sure. Is there any other way to generate proof of verifiable traffic if users are not using Finney Wallet? Yes. So the same docs portal here, you can scroll down and you can see earning Koi. It should be here somewhere. Attention mining, there it is. And so if you go to attention mining, you can see the library here. You can install this on any website that has Arweave-based content in it. And all you actually have to do is drop the TXID of the Arweave asset into this JavaScript function, and it'll generate a proof of real traffic and submit it to CoinNodes. And so you can put this on any website. So even if you go into Koi.rocks here, this is going to have that running in the background. And so if I come, and I'm going to use my identity to create the proofs of real traffic because it's a signature from my account. But if I am not connected to this, it'll just use an anonymous wallet, which doesn't count as much for attention, but it will still count for something. And I believe at this point, Verto should also work for generating proofs of real traffic, since the wallet should connect. So if you have RConnect installed, that should work as well. And I should say as well, I guess, we are also working on Solana and Ethereum-based proofs of real traffic now that we're moving over to this K2 cluster. And so in the very near future, it shouldn't matter necessarily which wallet people have installed. As long as they have some kind of a browser wallet, then they will be able to generate these proofs. And if you have the progressive web app templates, you can build this script into those, and the user's wallet that's built into the progressive web app will also be able to generate those proofs. So we're trying to work this into every part of the UI template library so that people can make it really accessible. I guess with that, now we can go to discussion.
Perfect. Okay. We'll see you guys down there in 1 second. Cheers, guys.